Hi, everyone. I appreciate you taking the time to listen in on the great NODA volunteer opportunities that we have available for our NODA members. The association is currently accepting applications for several elected positions. And those positions are president-elect, general board members, and regional coordinators for regions 1, 3, 5, 6, and 8. And I have with me today three wonderful NODA members who are or have recently served in an elected position. Dr. Jaime Mendez from the University of Texas at El Paso is our current past president. Allison Leach Hughes from the University of South Carolina was recently a general board member. Nathan Cheeseman from New Mexico State University main campus is our current Region 3 regional coordinator, and I want to thank all of them for taking the time today to chat with us about their decision to apply for an elected position. So I have several questions that I'm going to be asking the panel today, and we'll be doing some round robin conversations with them all and asking them all to answer these three questions. So Allison, we're going to start with you. So how did you decide to run for an elected general board member? How did you decide that the time was right for you?
Sure. For my time as a general board member, I had just come off as a regional coordinator and really loved the experience that I had working in the regions and knew that I still wanted to be involved with NODA because NODA was a place that I had found a lot of community and a lot of impact in the work that I was doing, even things outside of what I was doing in my full-time professional role. And I knew I wanted to continue to develop those skills and stay involved and further build my community. So timing is really hard, and making a big decision and knowing that that's a commitment. I wanted to take it really seriously. And I sat down and kind of thought to myself, what does this look like? What would I hope to achieve in a role of this kind? And generally just put some thought into it. I talked to a few different people that I consider mentors within the field, people that had done some of this work, and just talked about what that could look like and what I hope to accomplish and achieve. And I think the thing that I just kept reminding myself is that there's always something going on, and the time might not always feel right, but it's something that you can make a lot of impact and difference in, and just encourage you to be in the what ifs and put yourself out there, because we do need awesome leaders in NODA and OTR that are going to make us make our field better and do more. So I kind of reminded myself, if not you, then who, right? And so I think that was super helpful.
I love that. And I especially resonated with me what you said, Allison, around that reaching out to other people that have your mentors or maybe have been a general board member and their experiences to get the real idea of what does it mean to be a general board member. And I think that's really important for our members to hear that, is to do that outreach, do that networking. Our members are really great at giving and working through and giving some advice. So I appreciate you saying that. I think that's really important. So Nathan, you are currently serving in your second term as the Region 3 regional coordinator. How did you decide that the time was right for you originally and then to stay on for another term? You want to talk through that?
Yeah, sure. So for me, it was similar to what Allison talked about, wanting to make sure that not only was I involved in NODA and OTR, and NODA is my professional home, but also what was I giving back to the association. And I had actually just come off of being on a regional conference committee and kind of finished that conference and actually changed jobs and changed states and changed regions. And so I knew I wanted to be involved in my new professional position, be involved in the new region, in the new position. And it just so happened that the region coordinator position opened up at that same time in that region. And I think if it had been a region leadership team role that had opened up at that time, that's probably where I would have jumped at. And so kind of as Allison said, if not me, then who? Well, I didn't really know anyone in the region. And so I didn't really feel any animosity about putting my name out there, or anything like that. Because I thought it was a good way to get connected to the region. And since I had that experience of a conference team, that I knew some of the things that the region coordinator would be involved in. But like Allison said, I also talked to people who were or had been region coordinators at that time. And then similarly, when I decided to run again for a second term as region coordinator, it was okay, I know what I'm doing. I can, I know the time commitment. And I've had conversation with some folks in my region who were also thinking about it, and thought that if they wanted me to stay on, if they wanted to elect me again, that I could help those people learn and development through the region leadership team as well. And if they had decided they wanted to run, I would have fully supported them and been a member of their region leadership team. So it was almost a group conversation between some of the other people in the region that I was close with through networking and through doing things in the region about deciding to run for a second time, or having one of them run and me support them on a different level.
I appreciate that so much. I actually forgot that you had switched regions and then jumped right into a leadership role. And so I think that is just so awesome that you did that. And it really helped you connect, I imagine, in the region and get to know folks. And I certainly appreciate your willingness to stay on for a second term. I think that advice, again, is what both you and Allison are talking about, related to connecting, having conversations. You chatted with your leaders in the region to determine, is there anybody else right now? And if there wasn't, you were willing to stay on. And so I appreciate that, that you had those conversations, and that the timing was right for you to continue on. So thank you for that. So Jaime, I'll stay with you. How did you prepare for your excuse me, I'm skipping a question for you. Jaime, serving as the president is a big decision. This
Sure.
is the top volunteer leadership role. So tell us about your decision to run for president-elect, which is a 3-year term, just so everyone is aware of that.
Yeah, so I mean, running for president-elect, it wasn't an easy decision to make, because again, looking at the type of work that I was currently doing, professionally, and then the involvement that I had that I was serving at the time with NODA, I wanted to ensure that I wasn't going to, be over my head with the responsibilities, time commitments, and so forth. But the thing that kept me, I guess, motivated to want to apply was the fact that I had already been a part of NODA for 19 years, which is, quite a long time. But, NODA is, my second home, and I've grown professionally, personally, in different ways by being associated with NODA throughout the years. And a lot of my successes in my professional side is attributed to everything that I've learned and networked through NODA. So I said, the best way for me to kind of, celebrate everything that I've done with the association is to maybe consider running for president-elect. But again, it wasn't an easy decision, and it was one that I had to have some conversations with not only my supervisor here on campus, who's the vice president of student affairs, had a long conversation with him about, time commitment and what it would do for me professionally. And at the same time, there were a couple of colleagues in NODA, specifically Lizette Rebolledo and Dr. Heather Kovanik, who I converse quite consistently with, to say, maybe, I'm thinking about doing this. Should I do it? What do you all feel? Especially with Dr. Kovanik, Heather, who was going to be a past president in the position. She gave me a lot of insight and told me, pretty much motivated me to run for the position, said that I had, all the leadership qualities and the experience that would be great for the position. And so I think combining all of that together, and then also being honest with myself about the time, because, not only being a full-time professional, but also being a parent, making sure that I had enough time to devote to this. And so I had to be honest with myself. And so after I weighed everything, did my pros and cons, I realized that, yeah, I was ready to do this. But I was happy to have, the support and motivation, not only from, the professional side, but from the association side. And yeah, that's what actually got me to do it. And it's something that I don't, that I've not regretted, and I've actually grown more by being in this position, because it's put me at a different leadership level that I would have never expected or would have planned for. So it's almost like, jumping into a pool for the first time. You don't know, you want to get up and get some air, but it's a good feeling, not a nervous feeling, like being thrown into a pool without knowing how to swim. I knew how to swim, and I needed to learn how to navigate, that landscape, and it worked out very well.
So I'm hearing a common theme among the three of you, and that is networking with people and having conversations with NODA members that have sat in these seats that you all have or are sitting in. So I think that's really important advice. So talk to me, Jaime, about preparing your application. What did you do to prepare the application?
So in preparing the application, I know there were several parts that were important for the president-elect position. One was to do a personal statement. And I think that probably was the longest process for me, because I had to really think about the 19 years that I had put forth with NODA, and talk about all the different leadership opportunities that I've had, the experiences, and how that all would work towards, in conjunction with my professional experience, be good for the position of president-elect. So working on that personal statement, it was something that I had several drafts of, and but again, it allowed me to really reflect on everything that I've done with NODA. And then also, when it came to the DEI statement, I think that's important, because you want to ensure that you are being in the position of president-elect. For example, you want to be representative of all the membership, everyone that comes in and is part of the association. You want to ensure that you are representative of everything that is part of their professional experiences and everything that they are going through. So it's important to understand that diversity, equity, and inclusion is a major part of NODA. And so we want to ensure that all voices are heard, that we are assisting every member in whatever way possible to address their situations and concerns. So just to make sure that again, you have an understanding of what the role represents in specific in the DEI landscape. And then the last thing is, just to make sure that the resume that you're submitting, putting together, is really showing every specific area or opportunity you had with NODA, so that as individuals are reviewing your materials or looking at what you've done, that they can see that you do have the experience, that you have had different roles, different hats to wear, and that you are ready for the position of president-elect.
Great, thank you for that. Allison, so how did you prepare to apply for the general board position?
Sure. As I mentioned before, I did speak with some mentors. I think that's an important piece, networking if you can. And that's not just networking within NODA, but it's going to folks that know you best and know areas of strength, areas of opportunity for you, and what ways you can contribute, what ways you can grow, and kind of take that in as you're preparing your application materials. I think that's super important. And so I started there. I did some personal reflection and asked myself what I would want out of an elected leader for what I was applying for, which was obviously board member. But if that's a regional coordinator, if that is one of our like presidential positions, so on and so forth. So I did that personal reflection. I tried to think a little bit more about different identities, backgrounds, individuals that I had heard from at annual conferences, regional conferences, different spaces, and just hearing some of the needs of NODA, where we might want to go, and how I might be able to help NODA get there. So I think there was a lot of that personal reflection and discussion with others. And then from there, really just sitting down and doing the actual material preparation, like Jaime mentioned, so working on my resume, making sure that it highlighted the different positions that I had within NODA. That statement of purpose was really important for me because one of the things that I wanted to do was make sure that we really
We're cutting out a little. You're, Allison, you're cutting out. I don't know if it's just on my end or if it's everyone is having problems.
Get out here too.
Oh, sad day. Okay. Is it better now?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Okay, beautiful. So long story short, personal reflection, looking to see what folks wanted out of the position, what I could contribute, how I could grow. Obviously had a good conversation with my supervisor, which I changed supervisors in the term of my role. And so making sure that was an ongoing conversation with my supervisor, and then discussing it with my colleagues and coworkers too, knowing that I had a strong support system and wanting to communicate that to them of what this role might look like. And then with full support, submitted my materials and knew that at the end of the day, it was a lot to put yourself out there and be voted on, but also recognizing that it's an honor to be considered with all the different candidates that are out there. So yeah.
Great. Thank you for that, Allison. Nathan, is there anything that you would like to add in your application prep for a regional coordinator?
Just a extension on something that both Jaime and Allison mentioned, that conversation with your supervisor or that conversation with other people at your institution. I think especially for me, my supervisor hired me for my position, but is not related directly to OTR and directly to NODA. So my conversation when I was talking to them about wanting to run for this regional coordinator position was having a kind of a deeper conversation about my connection to NODA as a professional association, my connection to what I've already gotten out of NODA, how I think this elected position can help not just me and my professional development, but our institution and other connections for the institution to support me and our entire office or our entire OTR programming through some of those additional conversations that leadership have or that additional networking that was also talked about as well. So just really recognizing that letter of support from the institution, from the supervisor, that we had a foundational conversation first versus just, will I have the, feasibility to fly to the conferences and those kind of things.
I heard, again, I'm hearing some really common theme among the three of you, and that is the reflection piece and knowing the impact that this has on you personally, professionally as well, but also the professional development that anybody in these elected positions gains while sitting in these positions is really critical. But that support of your supervisor obviously is 100% critical. Just sending us a letter of support is not enough. It is absolutely really critical to have those conversations with your supervisor to know the impact that it has on you professionally, but also for the institution as well. So really some really good advice as you're considering. It's not just checking boxes on the application process, right? It's about really thinking about the time involved and the impact that it has on you, your institution and the association as a whole. So thank you, all of you, for those answers. So my final question is just really a general question. Is there any advice that you would give a NODA member considering running for an elected position? And Nathan, let's start with you, if you have any final advice.
Yeah, I'm going to steal something that Allison said earlier, and that's if not me, who, or why not, or it wouldn't hurt, to even go through the process and see what's being looked for. But I think it also is that don't forget about the various ways you may already be connected to NODA. And this is just an extension of that or a next level of that. So volunteering at the annual conference, whether you're checking people in or helping with a session or something, you're kind of hearing those conversations about things that could help you as an elected leader, or doing program proposal reviews for a conference, or helping on a conference team, or even award reviews. You kind of learn stuff from having all those pieces out, and all of those can help you be an elected leader. And I think, some people think about, or they talk about like official pipelines to be leaders, or some people might be very concerned about, I don't think I'm better than so-and-so. And so, so-and-so is doing the job, therefore I can't do the job. Everyone does their elected job in their own way. And just because something has worked for me as a regional coordinator during these last 4 years doesn't mean that the region wants the same thing in the next 2 years, or needs the same thing in the next 2 years. So just because I've done something one way in true terms as a regional coordinator doesn't mean somebody like me needs to be the next regional coordinator.
Mm-hmm. Great advice. Thank you for that. Jaime, what are your thoughts?
So I would say, especially for, whether you're running for president-elect or for a general board member position, to really understand that, this is a 3-year commitment that you're about to embark in if you do get elected into the position, and to understand that there is a lot of preparation and planning that goes into your role, as far as you want to do some homework, and again, going back to when I decided it was time to run, I did have the ability to speak to a board member and a person who was going to be past president, to see what are the topics that are being discussed around the table, so that you at least are prepared to go in, and to feel a little bit ready to join in on that discussion. So again, doing your homework and understanding what you're getting into, the time commitment involved, and also to give a subtle reminder to your supervisor, or to the person that you report to, that there is going to be some times that you're going to have to be away from from the office, because you're going to be attending a board meeting, or you're going to be at a some function that requires your presence, whether it be in person or virtual, and so that they understand that that is part of the commitment that is being put forth from them. And also for you to just give yourself that time for preparation, because sometimes we get too caught up in our individual professional lives, or personal lives, and then next thing you know, it's like, oh my, I have a board meeting tomorrow, or in 2 days. So you want to give yourself enough time so that you can review and be prepared to go in there. So it's really about time management, and just being very transparent with your supervisor and everybody about the commitment that you're about to embark in.
Mm-hmm. Good advice. Thank you. Allison, what advice do you have?
I think this may sound cliche. We tell our students this all the time, but I would encourage people to be themselves. We really don't have one type of leader within NODA, and I actually think it's really important for us to have a really diverse pool of folks, so we can make sure that everyone feels represented within NODA, and they can see themselves here, and make those meaningful connections that we all have talked about in this session. And so, as much as we say it to our leaders, I hope that we also will take it to heart ourselves, and know that you can be yourself throughout this process. And if it's a concern of yours, it's probably a concern for others within the association, or a goal of yours, and it can be a goal for others within the association. So put yourself out there, be yourself. I think it's kind of echoing what Jaime said when he said, don't wait until the last minute. There's some important conversations to have, and some of that personal reflection. So you'll want to plan in the time and the thought for that. And then I think the last thing, and we've talked about it, is connecting with other people, people within your region, within your networks, people that have done a general board member position in the past, or the leadership role that you're looking at being a part of. And if you don't know someone, that's totally okay. NODA can be really big. It can also be really small. And I think you've probably got 4 people on this call that would be happy to touch base, not to mention people on the Leadership Development Committee, and so many different groups that want to connect and help you find that right place within NODA that feels good, and that you can really contribute and give back, and also grow professionally. And I think that's key too. So reach out and let people know how we can support you as you explore these types of leadership roles as well, because you'll be benefited from it just as much as NODA will benefit from having you a part of it. So that's really special.
Thank you to all of you for your great insightful information in answering these questions. I think there's some really helpful information, and you were leading into the next steps there, Allison, and that is how to apply, and that the applications are now open. They close on November 17th, and then the elections will happen for all three of these elected positions, president-elect, general board member, and regional coordinators, November 27th through December 1st. So members will have the opportunity to vote for about a week. And then the terms will begin on January 1st for a 3-year term for president-elect, general board member. The regional coordinator is a 2-year term. So here is the link that members can go to. So it's the volunteer opportunities, elected positions. All of the position descriptions are there, as well as how to apply and the things that we're looking for. If you do have questions, here are some email addresses that you can reach out to. Of course, the association office, my email, and then the Leadership Development Committee is leading this effort. So lead noda@umn.edu. You can reach out to Leadership Development and they will get back to you if you have any questions. Of course, I will as well. But if you want to use just either one of those general emails, you can certainly do that. I want to thank I'm going to stop sharing here and bring everybody up on the panel screen so everyone can see your lovely faces. I want to thank you all so much for taking the time to chat with me today and talk about your insights and your enthusiasm for being in these positions and encouraging NODA members to just do it. Just get in there and apply and reap the great benefits of being part of this wonderful association. So thank you to all of you so much for joining us today. And members, I look forward to seeing your application here in the next several weeks. Thank you so much.